Hello everybody, Mattmon the Frigid Gamer back again with another tutorial, this time covering crossbows. Crossbows are a very effective tool. The fact that you can preload them with shots means that you don't need to worry about using it in combat. It'll be ready for you when you come and grab it. You can even load up multiple crossbows with some neat tricks, but we'll cover all of that right after we're done building it. Stick around. Okay, the crossbow can only be built at the Tool Forge, the fully upgraded tool station. You'll see it down, or should I say up here, with its ammo type, which is unique, known as bolts. We'll cover how to build bolts in a separate tutorial, so if you came here looking for this, it will be up shortly. But to build a crossbow, we need one tough tool binding, one crossbow limb, one crossbow body, and a varying kind of bowstring. Now we're actually going to build two different crossbows in this tutorial. And the reason is because there's two ways that I've found that are very effective for crossbows. Now the first one is the standard one. We're going to maximize its damage. Crossbows deal more damage based on its arrow speed. So these crossbow bolts deal 1 damage at range. This crossbow having an arrow speed of 4.5 means its attack is 4.5 with 1 damage bolts. Pretty simple. Now you'll also notice here that its arrow speed of 4.5 is made up by combining the arrow speed of the crossbow limb, which is 3, and the crossbow body, which is also 3. 3 plus 3 is 6, minus a quarter, 4.5. Done. So the better your crossbow body and the better your crossbow limb are, the higher the arrow speed that you can get. So let's see how ridiculous we can make our first crossbow here. Now we have a whole bunch of things here. We have like the plastic body. Let's do the plastic body and see what we got. We'll swap parts out as we need to. There we go. This one here, 6.3. That's it. Plastic and a piece of thaumium just for an extra modifier. This is pretty good. Except we're using that standard bowstring, which only has a 1 times multiplier to the arrow speed. We want more arrow speed. We want monstrous arrow speeds. 7.5. 7.5 is pretty good. Most people will be satisfied with that. But that's not high enough. So let's see, that is 4.2. That is 5.3. Let's see how high that gets it. 9.54. Actually, I can make that go even higher by doing this. Oh no, that equals out here. I guess 9.54 is generally a cap here for this. But that is an insane arrow speed. That means that this crossbow is absolutely 100% devastating. So, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to call it the sniper. Because with an arrow speed like that, now you will see here that it currently has a draw speed too of 4.55 seconds, which is really, really slow. You can see right now as it's reloading just how slow that is. However, I barely even saw that crossbow bolt travel. Now we'll build the second crossbow here in a minute, but we're going to do the first one here first, get its modifiers and all that stuff, as well as talk about some controls with regards to it. Now the crossbow has some unique controls and functions. The first thing to note about a crossbow is that it doesn't crit like normal Tinker's Construct weapons. You can't jump and cause it to crit or anything like that. So in order to get it to crit, it just does it on its own. It's a percentage chance. That's it. The other thing to know about crossbow is that it will automatically reload after you fire your shot. Albeit slow if you built a very slowly reloading crossbow. Once it's loaded, you'll notice that it takes a crossbow bolt right from the inventory, and it's currently loaded with that shot. Just move this around. Since these things here are preloaded, you can actually have multiple crossbows queued up in your inventory and be able to fire them in quick succession. Kind of a neat trick if you want to have some ridiculous amounts of power, as long as you have the inventory space on your hotbar. The other thing to note is if you have a crossbow that's loaded and you don't want it to be loaded, all you have to do is hold Shift and right click and it'll pull the bolt clean off and put it back into your inventory. Now let's get into some modifiers on these things, because this is the fun part. Now then, in terms of modifiers with regards to a crossbow, by default it has 3. Since I have one part made out of thaumium, this one has 4. For me personally, there's only ever been a couple of modifiers that are really handy on this, because even in melee combat, it never deals that much damage. It only deals the standard 0.5 hearts, no matter what it's made out of. So, things that are very, very useful in it for me are, of course, being able to drop that draw speed. And there we go. Every 10 redstone you add to it drops it by 0.05 seconds. So we're going to put a whole stack of that on. Since this was made using FTB Infinity 1.31, I do have the option of making it electric. Unfortunately, this crossbow, however, has a durability below 400, which is the baseline that you need. So instead, we're going to use a ball of moss. And to be honest, it only fires every 5 seconds anyway. The ball of moss is a better choice, as well, in essence, it's free. So there we go, we've added the moss, and pook. Our crossbow now automatically heals, and it's got a slightly reduced rate, so that's good. And that speed is just awesome. Since we have so many modifier slots left, we're going to go to town. We're going to get this thing as low as we can get it, and see how good it can fire then. Be back in a second. Alright, we got this thing all the way down to 3.5 seconds. That's dropped it by a little bit, that's dropped it by a solid second so far. Which that is notably faster. Which makes this thing a lot more usable, albeit it requires a lot of redstone to get that going. Now, let's cover that variant on the crossbow that I was talking about earlier. Because this is where things get fun. Here we have something that's a little bit different. Using some creative placement of parts, we're using a paper crossbow body, a paper tough binding, a plastic crossbow limb, and an enchanted bowstring. Now what that does is these two paper parts add 2 modifiers to that 3 that normally gets, bumping up to 5. And this enchanted bowstring takes it up to 6 modifiers on this thing. To top it all off, this thing has an arrow speed of 5.67 and a whopping draw speed of 1.5 seconds. And to top it all off, it has a durability of 450, which means we can make it electric. Now, why would you want it to be electric? Well, let's add some modifiers to it, and I'll show you exactly why. We'll be back in a second after I add the modifiers. Okay, now that we have the modifiers on there, you see that we added 190 redstone, and we made it flux compatible, as well as having 1 modifier remaining still. It has a draw speed of 0.25 seconds. Let's get some bolts in our inventory, and let's see exactly how much fun an assault crossbow can be. Shall we? Alright, we have 3 crossbows in our inventory now. The standard wooden one. As you can see with that lower arrow speed, it had some serious drop there. Okay, let's switch into the sniper here and see how it compares with its way higher draw speed. Almost on mark. So that's the difference of the draw speed. Let's move into our assault crossbow. Let's see what this thing here does. No, decent amount of drop, kind of a mid-ground in between the two. However, I can do this with it. By reloading this, or by holding down the mouse button, I can actually cause this thing to fire as fast as it possibly can. Which is pretty freaking awesome. Now then, due to the power of this weapon, we're going to go against a few more enemies than normal. Now I have modified some of these crossbow bolts so that this weapon here should be dealing, well, yeah, 23 hearts of damage. I just basically took iron crossbow bolts and I added 48 nether quartz to them. Nothing too insane. Let's see if it one-hits these guys. Yes, it does. These are iron bolts with just 48 quartz on them with this crossbow. It is able to one-hit some of these enemies. Not all of them, mind you. Now then, due to their numbers here, even though these bolts here do a very, very large quantity of damage at pretty much any range, the numbers are going to stop me from killing them at any kind of decent rate. So let's switch over to the assault crossbow. Now the damage on this crossbow is a lot lower than the other ones. However, at this kind of rate of fire, it doesn't really matter that much. Now you definitely want to make sure that whatever you're using, you have a lot of crossbow bolts available. Because as you see, it shoots through a stack and a half of those crossbow bolts. This is not a cheap weapon to use. However, it is effective. So, that about wraps it up with regards to two different ways of building a crossbow. You have your massive damage variant and the assault crossbow. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial. And this is going to be Mattmon cutting out for now. We'll be back again later with some different tutorials and some more Tinker's Construct tools and weaponry. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying this. And you can also check out my Twitch channel where I do a lot of live recording at www.twitch.tv/Mattmon88. Thanks for watching. This is Mattmon out for now. Deuces.